I want to start by telling you something about my brother Marcus that nobody at his funeral would ever say out loud. He had the most beautiful smile of anyone I've ever known. Warm, disarming, the kind of smile that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. The kind of smile that made you hand over your trust before you even knew what you were doing. That smile cost me $247,000. Welcome back to BetrayalLedger, where family secrets never stay buried for long. If this is your first time here, hit subscribe and join the family, because this story is one of the wildest ones we've ever told. Let's get into it. My name is Diana Delaney. I'm 38 years old, and I'm the kind of woman who still believes in family, even when family is the very thing that destroys you. Let me take you back to the beginning, because you need to understand what Marcus and I were before you can understand what he did to me. We grew up with nothing. I mean that literally. Our mother worked double shifts at a laundry facility for 16 years. Our father left when Marcus was 4 and I was 6. And the only thing he left behind was a broken storm door that let the cold in every winter. Marcus and I shared a bedroom until I was 19. We pooled our paper route money. We ate the same bowl of cereal, 1 spoon each. When things got thin at the end of the month, we were each other's people. That's what I thought. You and me, Di, Marcus used to say, using his nickname for me. Everybody else is just visiting. I believed him. For 34 years, I believed him. The building came after 12 years of sacrifice. I worked in logistics management, saved aggressively, lived below my means, and bought a small commercial building in 2019, 6 units, 3 retail spaces on the ground floor, 3 office suites above. It wasn't glamorous. It needed work. But it was mine, and it represented everything our mother ever taught us about building something from nothing. Marcus was there the day I got the keys. He hugged me so hard I thought my ribs would crack. Mom would be proud, he said. She had passed 2 years before, and in that moment, with his arms around me and those words in my ear, I thought, this is what we've been working toward, together. I had no idea he was already planning. The first call came on a Tuesday in March. I was at my desk when my phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize. I almost let it go to voicemail. Is this the owner of the building at 4417 Callaway Street? I said yes. Ma'am, we're calling from Meridian Commercial Lending. We wanted to follow up on the second disbursement for the loan your business partner authorized last month. I felt the floor drop out from under me. I'm sorry, what loan? What business partner? Dead silence. Then, ma'am, are you Marcus Delaney's sister? Here's what they found. Marcus had created a forged LLC, Delaney E. Brothers Property Holdings LLC, using a variant of my real business name, my real address, and a forged signature on 7 different documents. He had used this entity to take out 4 separate loans across 3 lenders totaling $247,000 using my building as collateral. He had been doing it for 11 months. 11 months. While I was having Sunday dinners with him, while I was lending him my car, while I was co-signing his daughter's school, fundraiser donations, and cheering at her basketball games. He was sitting across from me at my own table, eating my food, looking me in the eye, and slowly, methodically dismantling everything I had built. I remember sitting in my car in a parking garage after that first call, not crying. I couldn't cry. I just sat there with my hands on the wheel, feeling something I had no word for. It was beyond hurt, beyond anger. It was the specific devastation of realizing that someone you loved was never quite who you thought they were. I called my best friend Trina first, not Marcus. I want you to understand that choice. I called Trina because somewhere in the back of my mind, I already knew if I called Marcus, I would hear that smile through the phone, and I wasn't ready to have that weapon used on me again. Don't say a word to him yet, Trina said immediately. You need a lawyer before you need a conversation. She was right. I spent the next 4 days assembling documentation, meeting with my attorney, and filing fraud reports with 2 of the 3 lenders. I was calm. I was precise. I was absolutely hollowed out. On the 5th day, Marcus texted me a meme, a funny one about football. I stared at it for 10 minutes. I didn't respond. My attorney confirmed what I feared. The legal process would take time. The fraud was real and documentable, but recovering damages, untangling the liens, and protecting my ownership of the building would be a process measured in months, not days. In the meantime, I couldn't sell, couldn't refinance, couldn't do anything with my own property without the shadow of those fraudulent loans. He didn't just steal money, I told her. No, she said quietly. He stole your options. That line hit me harder than anything, because that's what financial fraud does to you that people never talk about. It's not just about the dollars. It's about watching every door in your life slowly close. It's about calling your bank and hearing hesitation in their voice when they see your account flagged. It's about lying awake at 3 a.m. wondering what else you don't know yet. I found out what else I didn't know on day 9. Trina called me. Her voice was tight and strange. I need you to look at something. Don't react. Just look. She sent me a screenshot. It was a rental listing for a ground floor commercial space in a building on Callaway Street, my building. Marcus had listed one of my retail units for rent at $1,800 a month. He had already responded to 3 inquiries. One prospective tenant had toured the space, a tour Marcus apparently gave himself, using a key I had given him years ago for emergencies. The listing had been live for 6 days. I read it 3 times. Then I read it again. There was a little description at the bottom that said, "Building managed by Delaney and Brothers Property Holdings, LLC." He hadn't just stolen from me. He was still stealing from me, in real time, while the fraud investigation was open. While I was sitting with lawyers trying to save my building, he had listed my property. He was collecting application fees. I want you to feel what that moment was like. I want you to really sit in it. Because this is the moment that changed something in me permanently. Not broke me, but changed me, like a bone that heals harder at the fracture line. I was done grieving my brother. I was ready to become the woman he'd underestimated. I called Marcus. Not my lawyer, not Trina. Marcus. I know what she said, I know. But some conversations can't be delegated. He picked up on the second ring, warm and easy like always. "Hey, sis. I was just thinking about you. You catch the game last night? I need you to meet me, tonight. The building." A pause, just a half second too long. "Yeah, of course." "Everything okay?" "No, Marcus. Everything is not okay." He showed up at 7 p.m. wearing a jacket I'd seen 100 times. Hands in his pockets, that smile already deployed and ready. He looked around the building lobby like he owned the place. He thought he did. I had my phone recording. I had 3 printed documents in a folder. I had spent 2 hours preparing exactly what I would say and exactly how. I would say it. I was going to be controlled. I was going to be precise. And then he opened his mouth. "Look, before you say anything, I can explain." He already knew. He stood there, not even pretending to be surprised. No shock on his face. No performance of innocence. He just looked at me with something that I can only describe as tired calculation. Like a card player who knows she's been caught, but is still deciding whether to bluff. Every script I had prepared dissolved. "You forged my name," I said. My voice came out quieter than I expected. "On $247,000 in loans, using my building as collateral. And then 13 days after those fraud reports were filed, you listed my rental unit and started collecting application fees." He exhaled, long and slow. "It got out of hand," he said. "It got out of hand. Marcus?" I had to stop. Had to breathe. "I ate cereal with you 1 spoon at a time, so neither of us went hungry. I called you from the hospital when I had my accident before I called anyone else. I gave you a key to this building because I trusted you with everything I had built. And you looked me in the eye every Sunday dinner, every phone call, every birthday, while you were doing this. So I need you to say something to me right now that is better than it got out of hand." He looked at the floor. "I needed the money," he said quietly. "I was drowning, Di. The business was failing. Keisha was talking about leaving. I owed people I couldn't owe. I panicked. So you chose me." He looked up. "You always land on your feet," he said, and I heard something in his voice that stopped my blood cold. Not guilt, not remorse, resentment. He resented me. After everything, he had built a story in his head where my discipline was somehow unfair to him, where my sacrifice was luck, where what I had earned was something he was owed. He looked at his sister, his older sister, who had fought for every single thing she had, and all he felt was envy. "You think I landed," I said. "Marcus, I crawled. I worked 4 years of 60-hour weeks to buy this building. I didn't go on vacations. I drove the same car for 9 years. I said no to things, every single week, so that one day I could say yes to something that would last. You were there. You watched me do it. And you still chose to take it." He said nothing. "The worst part," I said, "and this is the part I need you to hear, is that you didn't even think you were doing something wrong. You thought I had so much that you could take from me and I'd just absorb it, like I always have, like women always do." And then very quietly, I said the truest thing I've ever said to him. "I was never a resource, Marcus. I was your sister." He tried to say something after that, an apology maybe, or another explanation dressed up as one. I held up my hand. "My attorney will be in contact. I've already filed with the DA's office. The rental listing comes down tonight. And if any prospective tenants were defrauded of application fees, That's a separate charge. I want the key. He stared at me. The emergency key, Marcus. Right now. His hand shook slightly when he pulled it off his keyring. He set it on the lobby desk. Not in my hand. On the desk. Like even in that moment, he couldn't fully surrender the posture. He walked to the door, stopped. I'm sorry, Di. I looked at him one last time. At that smile, which wasn't there anymore. At the face I'd known my whole life. At my brother. I know you are, I said. I'm not sure it matters. The legal process took 8 months. Marcus was charged with fraud, forgery, and 2 counts related to the rental scheme. He pled down. He didn't go to prison, which I have complicated feelings about. But the charges are on his record. The loans were voided through the fraud determination, and my building's title was fully cleared. He paid back a portion of the fees through a civil judgment. A portion. The rest I absorbed, which felt deeply unfair, for approximately 6 months before I decided that carrying the unfairness was heavier than releasing it. Our extended family had opinions. They always do. My aunt called me cold for pressing charges against my own brother. My uncle said I should have handled it privately, as if there was a private way to handle $247,000 in forged documents. And here's the part that will make every woman watching this absolutely furious. Multiple family members suggested that maybe I had done something to push Marcus to this point. That maybe if I hadn't been so focused on my building, he wouldn't have felt so left behind. As if his fraud was my consequence for succeeding. Here's what I told every single one of them. Protecting yourself from someone who hurt you is not the same as hurting them. And I will not apologize for surviving someone else's choices. Most of them stopped calling after that. I found I could breathe easier. My mother used to have this glass jar on the kitchen windowsill. It had no purpose. She just liked the way the light went through it in the morning. After she died, I took it. It sat on my desk for years. I barely noticed it anymore. The day my title came back fully clear, I moved it to my building's front office. I don't know exactly why, but every time I walk in and the morning light catches it, I think of her. I think of cereal and 1 spoon each and a broken storm door and 2 children who promised to take care of each other. I kept that promise. I have to believe that. On some level, even now. Marcus texted me once about 4 months after the sentencing. Just 3 words. How is Mom's jar? He remembered it too. Of course he did. I sat with that text for a long time. There was a version of me. The one who shared that bedroom. Who pooled her paper route money. Who believed you and me, Di. Everybody else is just visiting. That wanted to respond with something warm. I didn't, but I didn't delete it either. I'm still not sure what that means. Maybe it means I'm human. Maybe it means love doesn't stop just because someone broke it. Maybe it means I understand the difference between forgiving someone and letting them back into the place they burned. The jar is on my windowsill. The door stays closed. I want to end with this because I know some of you watching right now are in the middle of your own version of this story. Maybe it's a brother. Maybe it's a parent, a partner, a friend. Someone you loved completely and without conditions. Someone you would have given anything to, who decided to just take it instead. And you're sitting with that specific devastation that I can't quite name, the one that lives past hurt, past anger in that quiet, hollow place where trust used to be. I want you to hear what it took me. 8 months of legal battles and a lifetime of love and grief to understand. You are not required to be the safe place for someone who made you the target. The building is mine. Every unit is occupied. The morning light still comes through that jar and falls across my desk while I drink my coffee, the expensive kind now, because I earned it, and I am not small about what I've earned anymore. I survived my brother's choices. More than that, I chose myself. And for a woman who spent her whole life being someone else's safety net, that was the most radical thing I ever did.